In the world of German corporate governance, something massive is happening. The Aufsichtsrat, or supervisory board, has traditionally been seen as this slow, formal, controlling body. But that's being completely torn up and reshaped. It's evolving from a distant watchdog into a hands-on, strategic co-pilot. And today, we're going to break down exactly how and why this is all going down. Okay, so here's the game plan. We'll start by looking at the board's traditional, high-stakes role. Then we'll dive into the perfect storm of challenges that's forcing it to change. From there, we'll see what the modern director looks like, how companies are scrambling to find this new talent, and finally, what the board of the future really looks like as a team. All right, first up, the board's balancing act. So what does a supervisory board actually do? Well, let me tell you, it is way more than just a fancy title on a business card. It's a role with immense responsibility and some very, very real personal risks. At the very core of all this is something called the business judgment rule. Now, you can think of this as a kind of legal shield. It protects board members from getting sued if a business decision they make ends up going south. But, and this is a huge but, that protection only works if the decision was based on solid, adequate information and if they were completely free of any conflicts of interest. So, no winging it, and their to-do list, it's absolutely massive. We're talking about the power to appoint and dismiss the CEO and the entire management team. They supervise and advise them on strategy. They have to sign off on any huge company-altering deals. Plus, they're the ones who decide what the top execs get paid, and at the end of the day, they are on the hook for making sure the whole company is playing by the rules and managing its risks. What's really changed, though, is the world these decisions are being made in. As this quote lays out, things have gotten so much more complex. You've got geopolitical chaos, crazy competition, new business models popping up overnight, and a mountain of regulations. It makes every single choice way more vulnerable. And that old taboo about not suing board members? Oh, that is long gone. The personal liability, the personal stakes have never, ever been higher. So this new high-stakes environment has basically created a perfect storm of challenges, and it's forcing this very traditional institution to evolve, and to evolve fast. The first massive wave hitting the shore is ESG. That's environment, social, and governance. You know, this used to be stuff for the back of an annual report, a nice-to-have. Not anymore. It is now a core fiduciary duty, thanks to powerful new regulations. Boards are now legally required to take sustainability just as seriously as they take the company's bottom line. Next up, the absolute tidal wave of digitalization. You know, understanding what AI really means for the business isn't just for tech companies anymore. It is a baseline requirement for survival for every company. A board that doesn't get technology today is a board that's completely flying blind. It's that simple. And finally, as if that weren't enough, there's the simple reality of constant global disruption. We're talking about fragile supply chains that can snap overnight, shifting political alliances, and of course, the ever-present threat of activist investors who can show up and try to tear your strategy apart. All of this together means one thing. The era of stable, predictable business is officially over. So this perfect storm has basically made the old-school model of a board director obsolete. To navigate these waters, boards need a totally new kind of leader, somebody with a completely different playbook and skill set. And you can see the shift right here. Look, the classic stuff. Deep expertise in finance, law, auditing, that's still your foundation. It's absolutely crucial. But it is no longer enough. The modern board needs people who are experts in digital transformation and AI, in ESG and sustainability, and folks with real international experience who know how to steer a company through massive, fundamental change. But here's the kicker, the reality check. There is a huge gap between what boards need and what they actually have. Get this. Only 57% of larger German companies have even one single digital expert on their board. In an age literally driven by technology, it's a pretty staggering competency gap. Okay, so it is crystal clear that boards need new skills, and that, in turn, is forcing a complete reinvention of how board members are actually found. The old ways just don't cut it anymore. This has really sparked a move away from let's call it, the informal old boy network. You know the one. It relied on personal connections, informal chats, and often produced boards where everyone looked and thought exactly the same. The new way is professional. It's transparent, it's data-driven, and it's opening the door to a much more diverse international pool of talent. And a huge driver of this change is the rise of digital recruitment platforms. Think of services like Board Prospects or Board Experts. They are totally disrupting the old headhunter model. They give companies these sophisticated tools to search for directors with very specific targeted skills like expertise in AI or ESG from a global talent pool. And they can do it faster and more cheaply than ever before. Of course, if you want to attract this new, highly sought-after talent, you have to be willing to pay for it. The compensation now reflects the huge increase in responsibility, risk, and frankly, the time commitment this all requires. For a board seat at a top DAX 40 company, you're looking at over 100,000 euros a year, with the chairperson earning a whole lot more. But here's the thing. Getting the right people with the right skills in the room is really only half the battle. The biggest, most profound transformation isn't about people or process, it's about culture. It's about shifting the board's entire mindset from a stuffy, formal committee into a dynamic, collaborative team. And this quote just nails the new ideal perfectly. This isn't about some naive fantasy of harmony where everyone just agrees all the time. No way. It's about building a high-functioning team that can work through different points of view to become a true strategic sparring partner for management, a group that can challenge and support in equal measure. So how do you actually build a culture like that? Well, it comes down to making some real changes. It starts with the board looking in the mirror and doing regular, brutally honest evaluations of its own performance. Meetings have to stop being these long, one-way presentations and start being about deep, constructive debate. The work can't just happen in the boardroom. Informal communication between meetings is what builds trust. Critically, they have to actively seek out diversity to spark new ideas. And every member has to be willing to play the devil's advocate, to challenge assumptions and make every decision better. So, what's the big takeaway here? The German supervisory board is at a major inflection point. The old model, the passive, formal controller, it just doesn't work in the complex, fast-moving world we're in today. To survive and to thrive, the board has to fully embrace this new role as an active, engaged, and strategic co-pilot. The question for every company now is no longer if this change is coming, but how fast they can adapt to it.